I come from a college where most people I knew did not have high hopes about maybe anything. So at that point in time, I thought that will it be possible for me? I took my coaching in the second year. Honestly, sir, I would recommend the Eco Foundation course to anyone who is serious about this. So if you're well prepared for GATE and JAM, I think you'll be able to score well in CUET automatically. I did not refer to any particular book. I had the EduSure notes with me and my handwritten notes that I had made from the videos I had watched. The mock tests are well designed with practical application-based mock tests. If you are not very good with your practice, then that would not come so easily, that too under pressure. I see that many students who join their coaching maybe in their third year, not all, but maybe most of them, they are overwhelmed. So the only motivation I had was I want it and I did it. If I can do it, then why not you?
Hello everyone. Today we have Sayantika Singha with us. She is a student at JNU SIS 24 to 26 batch. Just to give a little bit about the background of Sayantika, she has been a student of Midnapur College, West Bengal. It's a small town called Midnapur, close to Calcutta. She has been a part of EduSure since 2022. That's the 2-year course. But it's not about us, it's about her. It's about the journey that Sayantika has actually made over a period of 2 years in terms of the coaching and a year at the prestigious institute, JNU. Okay. So firstly, congratulations to you, Sayantika, on making it to JNU. How does it feel to be at one of the best institutions of the country? How do you feel?
Firstly, thank you so much, sir. It indeed feels great to be a part of this prestigious institution. And it's almost been 6 months, more than 6 months actually, since I'm here. And the journey so far has been wonderful.
So, tell us a little bit about the journey. Like, when did you decide that you want to pursue a master's in economics? And, how did you decide that?
Yes, sir. So, sir, I joined EduSure in the second year of my undergraduation in 2020. I decided to pursue a master's in economics because a master's in economics is a degree that makes you job ready, with updates you with all the necessary skills required for the job market. Also, it opens other doors. Like if you want to pursue a PhD, a master's would be mandatory. Other things like being at prestigious institutions like a JNU or a DSC broadens one's horizons and opens one's minds to other options available. Exposure, which I personally did not get in my undergrad, is one of the big things. Actually, the main thing basically that made me want to pursue higher education in economics. Exposure was something that I did not really get that much in my undergraduation. So that made me want to pursue higher education in economics at some prestigious institution. That is when I decided I'll go for a master's.
It's amazing because, so many students from, tier 2, 3 cities, they do not actually dare to dream. But, you dared to dream. And that's amazing because, it's a notion that only, students from, metropolitan cities are able to dream to get into a JNU or an ISI or a DSC. But it's, amazing that, coming from a small town, you dare to dream that, okay, I want to get into a JNU. Did you target a JNU specifically, or did you target the top institutions and then JNU happened? So how did that happen? Can you tell me a little bit about the goal that you had actually set for yourself?
Yes, sir. So I was not very sure about which institution I wanted to get into. What I wanted was to get a good institution for myself so that it would broaden my horizon and open the many doors that would be possible maybe during the masters or after the masters. So in particular, I did not target any institute, although I had an affinity for DSC. But then I thought JNU would be better. I got into JNU, but I thought JNU would be better because the course curriculum here at JNU is a bit relaxed, much more relaxed than DSC. So I could still figure out what I wanted to do while pursuing my masters, whereas in DSC, as far as I have heard, people are very much into their course because that is rigorous and that demands time. So people are not really very much able to take out some time or to even to think about what they want to do next.
Right.
But JNU provides me with a very nice blend of academic rigor and time to think about if I really want to go for a corporate or to pursue a PhD or maybe some government jobs. So I thought that JNU would be a better preference for myself.
That's amazing. So I'm sure that everyone would agree that CUET and the other MA Economics entrance examinations, all of them are very challenging. So what are the biggest hurdles that you faced in your preparation for MA Economics entrances and especially the CUET entrance exam?
Yeah. So the biggest hurdle I think everyone faces is that how do I manage college studies with entrance preparation?
Correct.
And
Correct.
everyone asks that question. So actually that is the exact reason I took my coaching in the second year, because in
Yeah.
second year the pressure is comparatively a bit lesser.
Right.
And so the second year I invested my second year in completely in learning the concepts and revising and re-revising, because
Right.
the course curriculum at my college was not that well taught. So I was very much in need of a coaching so that I
Right.
could learn concepts well. So
Right.
I started from my second year. And honestly, sir, I would recommend the Eco Foundation course to anyone who is serious about this, because that gave me the ample opportunities and the time to learn the concepts, grasp them, revise them, and re-revise them. And I invested my entire third year into practicing questions and re-revising. So that helped me a lot. So
Yeah, exactly. So, as you said, the conceptual clarity and the guidance initially is,
yes,
very important. And if you have it for an extended, period of a time, it gets easier,
yeah,
right? But I know that the build up to an examination, can be very overwhelming. So, how did you structure a particular day, especially say 2 months before the examination or say 1 month before the examination? How would a particular day actually look like for you in terms of before a CUET?
okay. So 2 months before the examination, so maybe yeah, 1 or 2 months before the IIT GATE entrance exam, I would say in February. So I
Yeah,
had my end semester examination of the fifth semester, which
yeah.
happened in December. So after that, I was free. And a typical day would look like I studied in the morning for about 3 to 4 hours. And then in the evening for again about 5 to 6 hours. If I had
Wow,
to go
that's
to
about 10
college,
hours.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm not really a night creature. I finish up whatever I do within 10:30.
Well, that's
So
great. Okay.
and then in college, if I had to go, I would squeeze out some time for myself, go to the library to study. If I had to go to college that day. Otherwise, at home, my normal routine would be 10 to 11 hours in a particular day.
Oh, that's amazing. The CUET examination has, various areas, and one of the most challenging area is the Indian economy and the development economics and the GK area. Now, how did you
Yeah.
tackle those areas? Like, would you want to share your experience what are the challenging areas according to you? And according to most of the students who tell me, the Indian economy and the GK and the development economics is the most, challenging area. They don't exactly know what to do in that area. So, how did you overcome that?
So I think there is not much point in worrying about GK or the Indian economy either. Primarily GK, because that is not in your hand. What is in your hand is
Correct.
the subject matter. So I did not really give much time to GK or Indian economy. So the primary thing what I feel is that preparing well for IIT GATE and JAM. So if you're well prepared for GATE and JAM, I think you'll be able to score well in CUET automatically if you're not unlucky enough to have like 60% of the paper with GK.
Yeah.
So and CUET is very, very unpredictable. That is the thing. So
Yeah.
in terms of Indian economy, I did not refer to any particular book. I had the EduSure notes with me and
Correct.
my handwritten notes that I had made from the videos I had watched. So
Yeah.
those were more than enough for the Indian economy part for me. And
Right.
GK, I primarily did with the mock test that EduSure provided. The
Correct.
questions after attempting each mock test and after seeing my result, what I used to do was that I used to note down all the questions that I thought were GK-ish or were of the type of Indian economy. So I used to note them down, and I used to take out time maybe twice or thrice a week, every
Hmm.
day, 1 or 2 hours to revise that only. I did not put in any extra effort to go for GK because that was not in my hands. So whatever material I got from EduSure, I revised that twice or thrice a week. Maybe 2 hours in the evening that was how I did it, and that worked pretty well for me.
So
So
you
I
give
think
a
the
very
important
good,
part is that
point in that way that, conceptual clarity is, obviously important. But as you said, the mock tests, they,
yeah,
helped you out. So what
yeah.
would you rate the importance of the practical application for these entrance examinations? How important are the mock tests in order to
So
crack any of these
mock
entrances?
Yeah. So mock tests are very, very important because once you start taking those tests, you are because I remember the first time I took my test, I did not score well, and I was very underconfident. But then I kept revising and re-revising,
Hmm.
and as you keep on attempting the tests, you see that improvement in your marks if you put in that much of effort. So I saw
Hmm.
that both in my JAM Gate and in my CUET mock tests. The mock tests are well designed with application based mock tests, and I think we got 10 mock tests for CUT. So that was more than enough for me. And then But in particular, if I want to talk about GK and the Indian economy, after every mock test, the questions I found were related to GK or the Indian economy. I used to note them down separately, and then I kept a note of that, and I just revised that.
Oh,
So
that's
that is how
awesome.
I did it. And mock
Awesome.
tests, yes, sir, that is how.
Awesome. Very nice. So, many of the students actually don't understand that, solving actually tricky questions under pressure is not very easy. And the mock test actually gives you a very good practice in order to do that. So, how would you, advise to students who have a question that how do you solve a tricky question under pressure? So, what would be your, response to them? That how do you do that? How do you respond under pressure?
So solving a tricky question under pressure is not really easy. At times it is not possible also, because in entrances, I have to keep in mind that I have to maximize my score. So if I spend a whole lot of time behind one question, then that will not be the optimal choice.
Obviously. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So it's better to actually leave a question when you see
Leave a
that,
question
okay, you're not being able to
based
solve
on
it.
10 minutes. So
Right.
mock tests, sir, what mock tests do is they not only just clear your concepts, but in these entrances, we have seen that the institutions repeating their questions many a times.
Hmm.
So if you are well versed with the concepts, and mock tests help you polish those concepts. So in case you find a question, maybe that's not repeated, but that's pretty similar to what you had practiced, then the practice with the mock tests actually will help you solve a tricky question, because the institution might not have repeated the very same question.
But
Maybe
the
they have
concept is
changed the
similar.
question.
I
Yeah, similar
understand.
concept. Change the
Yeah.
concepts a bit with maybe data, or maybe they've added some other another information, and you have to maybe approach it in another way. So
Hmm.
adequate practice will help you get that be done quickly. Well, whereas if you are not very good with your practice, then that would not come so easily. That too under pressure.
Right. No, I understand that. Now, coming over to JNU, how different is JNU to your expectations, right? So, how different is the academic environment at JNU, and what was your expectation before actually you went into JNU?
So I did expect rigorous curriculum here, which and they did not fail me in that. They did not fail me here.
It's very very rigorous, the JNU trip, SIS, and it's very mathematical. Also,
Yeah,
that's what I hear from students.
yeah, it is mathematical, it is rigorous. And what I expected was the same academic rigor that I would expect from a good institution that I've gotten here. But what I did not expect was the other aspect, that living in Delhi is do not feel like I live in Delhi, because the campus is once I
The
move out of
campus
the
is
campus, then
absolutely huge, and
yes,
a part of the campus is also a forest, right?
yeah, the entire campus is a forest. It's in the Aravali range.
Yeah,
And it's a huge variety of wildlife here.
yeah.
So at times it's almost like a zoo when I move here. But yeah, I think it's the pollution is relatively less than major parts of the city. So
Yeah.
there is a whole different aspect to living inside JNU,
Hmm. It's a
apart from the
different
academic.
city, as you said.
Yeah, it's a different city in itself.
Yeah.
Once I step out of the campus, that feels like this is Delhi. But once you step in onto the campus, this is very different from major parts of Delhi.
Right. So, looking back, what would be your single most important advice to students actually, currently pursuing an MA Economics entrance? So, any most important advice that, okay, if you do this, then, you're on the right path.
Yeah. So most important advice I would give to all the juniors watching this is conceptual clarity. Clear your concepts well, and sufficient practice is very much required, with
Right.
the past papers being the topmost priority, and the mock tests. Because I see that many students who join their coaching maybe in their third year, not all, but maybe most of them,
Hmm.
they are overwhelmed, because in college they do not learn the concepts well, most of the
Hmm.
colleges,
Yeah.
and then they cannot take out sufficient time for their practice, because they have their end term exams, internals, and all that. So in that case, they give 20% there, 20% to this, 20% to that, and they mess it up. So
Hmm.
I would suggest that if someone does not have any other constraints, take the coaching from second year itself, because that helps a lot. That indeed helps a lot. That helped me a lot, because I've invested my entire second year in learning and relearning, and
Right.
third year in practice. So I have got an ample amount of time.
Hmm.
But people who are considering to take the coaching in their third year, they often find it very overwhelming to process everything altogether. Because the first time you look at the past year questions, then and then you're overwhelmed with how do I do this?
Hmm.
And that on top of that, in the third year, you have to see your college grade, you have to clear your concepts and then practice. So it becomes a bit too much in the third year to do all by itself. In that case, I would say conceptual clarity is the primary thing that's required. Apart from that, sufficient practice with past papers being the topmost priority and mock tests.
Okay, great, awesome. So just give me one sentence as a motivation to the juniors that you want to inspire, that okay, it is possible for each of you to do this. So can you give a motivation as a message to your juniors that okay, if I can, then you can as well, something like that.
Sure. So I come from a college where most people I knew did not have high hopes about maybe anything. So at that point in time, I thought that will it be possible for me? Because it's all about uncertainty. You don't know. You might give it your all, but then you might end up getting nothing.
Yeah.
But with consistency, hard work, and if you are if you want it, the only motivation I had was that I wanted to go to Delhi. I wanted to pursue a higher education from a good institute. So the only motivation I had was I want it and I did it. The only motivation I had that I needed the exposure in life that I did not get in my town or in my college. So in that case, if I can make it, if I can do it, then why not you? Just give it your time, consistency, and hard work, and you'll be able to score well and get into your dream institute.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Chantika, and I wish you all the best. I hope that you have amazing experience at JNU and you graduate and you continue on to a career which is extremely prosperous to you and your family. And I wish all of you all the best. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you so much for inspiring the juniors as well, in order to dream, in order to look at the top institutions, even if you are from a tier 2 or a 3 city. So I wish all this juniors actually thinking about a master's in economics to dream big now. And each of you have an inspiration in Shayantika. So I want each of you to dream big. That's my message, and that's my learning from this interaction. Thank you so much once again, Shayantika.
Thank you.
Bye bye, and all the best.